Hi, we're the Psychic Twins.
I'm Terry.
And I'm Linda. What happened to Amelia Earhart? Amelia Earhart was an American aviation pioneer and the first female to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. Amelia was also a feminist icon who worked hard to promote the rights and equality of women. She proved that female pilots were as capable and courageous as male pilots.
Sure did.
She did.
And she set a lot of records, right?
Yes, she set a lot of records. She had many best-selling books.
She won awards.
She sat on boards. She was incredibly inspirational and one of the most famous women of the 1930s. And even in subsequent decades, she was amazingly accomplished.
During an attempt to make a circumnavigational flight around the world in 1937, Amelia was flying a twin-engine plane called the Electra with her navigator, Fred Noonan. And they disappeared over the Pacific Ocean near the Howland Islands. They literally vanished off the face of the earth.
It is to this day the biggest mystery of the 20th century. There's never been any conclusive evidence that proves she landed in any one particular island or even in the water. They found no shred of evidence of her or Fred Noonan or the plane, the Electra. Well, there are several main theories we'll just touch briefly on that have circulated for the past 80 years. It's been an incredible series of people pretending to have evidence or say they have it or saying they have evidence and it's proving not to be the case. There's just so many dead ends, but the thing is there are several main theories that many people propagated over the years, and the first one was the Japanese capture theory, also known as the Marshall Islands conspiracy. The theory argues that Fred and Amelia crashed in the Marshall Islands or near the Marshall Islands in an island called Amelia Atoll, and that was not on their course at all. It was off their route by about 1,000 miles. But there's been a mountain of evidence that kind of supports it, including about 100 plus islanders from Amelia Atoll and the island of Saipan who are very, very convincing. They have given eyewitness reports even from 80 years ago that she landed there, that they saw a tall white woman who looked like a guy and had short hair, and that was very unusual on those islands. And the thing was, she apparently crashed her plane on this island. She was taken by the Japanese with Fred Noonan to the island of Saipan, and they were held there as spies, as prisoners.
Well, they were Japanese prisoners.
Yes.
And this is another theory, the crash and burn theory, which was, I think, the most popular one, and it was perpetuated by the government. And that holds that they ran out of fuel, their plane ran out of fuel, and crashed into the Pacific Ocean, never to be seen again.
The third theory we want to talk about is the castaway theory. A guy named Rick Gillespie, the executive director of the International Group for Historic Aircraft Recovery, believes that Earhart died as a castaway on Nikumaroro, Kiribati, where a partial skeleton was discovered, but it was never definitively found to be Earhart's skeleton.
Now, there's the ever-popular expatriate in New Jersey theory, which is a little crazy, but it holds that they were taken captive by the Japanese and she lived out her life under an alias identity in New Jersey.
Yeah, New Jersey of all places?
Well, we used to live in New Jersey. It's not a bad place.
No.
I would have chosen Hawaii or something, but
I don't know why they decided it was New Jersey, but maybe there were sightings of people that looked like Earhart. Again, not conclusive evidence. Nothing proved that she was actually there after that fateful day when she crashed in 1937.
But there was so much evidence that the government had that there was
Yes,
this huge government cover up.
And it was actually covered up since the time of FDR, Franklin Roosevelt. It was very common for, if other evidence disputed the crashed and sank theory, anyone in the government would automatically discredit it and call it lies, and they would smear and marginalize the person who put forth that evidence. And so for whatever reason, and it's been speculated by many analysts and military experts and people who think they know what happened for decades, and it's never been proven, but the Japanese government has also covered it up for many years.
What's interesting is that the American naval files are missing. The government files on Earhart's flight, or a lot of them are missing.
And the Japanese files are missing.
That's right. Or they just won't come out and say, yes, we held her prisoner. And many people believe that she was killed or executed on Saipan, and Fred Noonan was as well, or else they died of dysentery, which is a horrible death. This past week, the History Channel did a documentary series called Amelia Earhart, The Lost Evidence, and they claim to have discovered this picture in the National Archives of Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan standing on a dock, and they went to great lengths to prove that this was an authentic photograph. Now, Fred Noonan was standing on the dock with some natives, and it was a similar hairline, and Amelia Earhart was sitting on the dock with her
supposedly
with her back to the camera and the similar haircut, a
it's
short
a little
haircut.
bit like her, but there was no facial recognition because there was no face. It was basically just her
You couldn't see her
wistfully
face.
at what supposedly was a plane attached to a barge that they were taking away, or a vessel that they were taking
Now,
away.
this was supposedly taken at the Jalowit Atoll Island near the I keep wanting to say Milli Vanilli,
which is another big con.
near Milli Island. The special theorizes that the photo is authentic, and
that was the centerpiece of their entire documentary, that photo.
The whole show was based on this photo.
But it was completely debunked just a few days later after the History Channel aired it. It was debunked by a Japanese blogger who was a history buff for many years, and he said, I did a quick Google search, and in 20 or 30 minutes I found the same exact photo in a Japanese travelogue book that was published in 1935, 2 years before the solo flight.
2 years before she flew.
And many are saying the same thing now. Military analysts are saying, yeah, this was published before 1937, and even if you look at the background, the ships, the vessels in the background do not have Japanese flags on them as they would in 1937.
Well, they said that the ship in the background in the photo was the Koshumaru. That turned out not to be authentic either.
But there is a lot of evidence in the History Channel video that does kind of support that she was taken to Saipan with Fred Noonan, and they were imprisoned in a cell there, and because people recognized them and said, oh, I used to bring this tall white woman with short hair and kind eyes her linens. I did them every day, and I didn't know who she was. But
that's pretty interesting.
It's pretty interesting, and they even have a commemorative stamp in Milli Atoll. I think it's Milli Atoll where she crashed down, and they have a commemorative stamps for years. They've had this stamp because so many islanders remember seeing and have eyewitness accounts of seeing her there.
Now, I'd be more inclined to believe the eyewitness accounts, especially since there's 100 plus, than a picture that was published years before and possibly taken 10 years before, she was actually taken captive. I think that a simple Google search would have been effective. History Channel, just saying. So we actually do believe that Amelia Earhart was most likely taken prisoner by the Japanese.
And possibly executed.
And possibly executed on Saipan. What do you believe happened to Amelia Earhart and her plane? So just tell us in the comments below, hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the future.